a traditional structure for traditional music with its entrance the already established pub known as Gallagher's. The deal with the Gallaghers had been set, the ground broken for the project before he had been able to hack through his schedule for the time he wanted to spend here. But he was here now, and he intended to do more than sign checks and watch. He wanted his hands in it. A man could work up a good sweat even in May in such a temperate climate when he spent a morning hauling concrete. That morning, Trevor left the cottage. He decided to rent for the duration of his stay, wearing a denim jacket and carrying a steaming mug of coffee. Now, a handful of hours later, the jacket had been tossed aside, and a thin line of damp ran front and back down his shirt. He'd have paid £100 for one cold beer. The pub was only a short walk through the construction rubble. He knew from stopping in the day before that it did a brisk business midday, but a man could hardly quench his thirst with a chilly harp when he forbade his employees to drink on the job. He rolled his shoulders, circled his neck as he scanned the site. The concrete truck let out its continual rumble. Men relaying orders or acknowledging them shouted over it. Job music, Trevor thought. He never tired of it. That was a gift from his father. Learned from the ground up had been Dennis Jr.'s credo, and the third-generation Magee had done just that. For more than 10 years, 15 if he counted the summers he'd sweated on construction sites, he'd learned just what went into the business of building, the backaches and blood and aching muscles. At 32, he spent more time in boardrooms and meetings than on a scaffold, but he'd never lost the appreciation or the satisfaction of swinging his own hammer. He intended to indulge himself doing just that in Ardmore, in his theater. He watched the small woman in a faded cap and battered boots circle around, gesture as the wet concrete slid down the chute. She scrambled over sand and stone, used her shovel to wrap the chute and alert the operator to stop, then waded into the muck with the other laborers to shovel and smooth. Brenna O'Toole, Trevor thought, and was glad he'd followed his instincts there. Hiring her and her father as foreman on the project had been the right course of action. Not just for their building skills, he decided, and they were impressive, but they knew the village and the people in it, kept the job running smooth, and the men happy and productive. Public relations on this sort of project were just as vital as a sturdy foundation. Yes, indeed, they were working out well. His 3 days in Ardmore had shown him he'd made the right choice with O'Toole and O'Toole. When Brenna climbed out again, Trevor stepped over, extended a hand to give her a final boost. "Thanks." She sliced her shovel into the ground, leaned on it, and despite her filthy boots and faded cap, looked like a pixie. Her skin was pure Irish cream, and a few curls of wild red escaped the cap. "Tim Riley says we won't have rain for another day or two, and he has a way of being right about such things more than he's wrong. I think we'll have the slab set up for you before you have to worry about weather." "You made considerable progress before I got here." "Sure, and once you gave us the high sign, there was no reason to wait. We'll have you a good solid foundation, Mr. Magee, and on schedule." "Trev." "Aye, Trev." She tipped back her cap, then her head, so she could meet his eyes. She figured him a good foot higher than her 5'2", even wearing her boots. "The men you sent along from America, they're a fine team." "As I hand-picked them, I agree." She thought his voice faintly aloof, but not unfriendly. "And do you never pick females, then?" He smiled slowly, so it seemed humor just moseyed over his face until it reached eyes the color of turf smoke. "I do indeed, and as often as possible, both on and off the job. I've put one of my best carpenters on this project. She'll be here next week." "It's good to know my cousin Brian wasn't wrong in that area. He said you hired by skill and not gender. It's a good morning's work here," she added, nodding to the site. "That noisy bastard of a truck will be our constant companion for a while yet. Darcy'll be back from her holiday tomorrow, and I can tell you she'll bitch our ears off about the din." "It's a good noise, building." "I've always thought the same." They stood a moment in perfect accord while the truck vomited out the last yard of concrete.